Hello everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. My name is Alex. What a transfer window it's been so far. It's I don't know about you guys, but in my opinion, so far it has exceeded expectations. I know a lot of people are complaining, they're upset that maybe we haven't brought higher profile players in, and maybe there's a couple of positions we need to refine. Obviously the midfield, we're lacking hugely in numbers and depth, and a lot of people are calling for a top quality striker and even a potential goalkeeping replacement for Kepa. So I just wanted to briefly touch on how things have been so far, what I think about it, and what I think is going to happen going into the new season based on what we've seen. Now let's start with Pochettino. New gaffer's come in, only started working in the beginning of July, and so far I think he's been exceptional. The way he's handled the press, his first interview was fantastic, and just, you know, a lot of people don't want to say it, but he does have the aura. He does have a winning aura, a winning mentality, and he's trying to transfer that straight away, not only to the players but to the fan base, because let's not forget, our standards dropped supremely last season under Graham Potter, and then obviously we had Bruno and Frank Lampard. Standards were in the toilet, they were in the bin. So what he needs to do is revitalise his Chelsea fan base and then put the pressure back on the players, but at the same time give them the confidence to know that they can actually go out there and win. And we're not going to go out there and crash out of all domestic competitions in one of the opening rounds, and on top of that, fail to even get inside the top 10. The reality is this is a very similar situation with Pochettino as it was with Thomas Tuchel. Now, obviously, we have a different ownership. Abramovich is no longer here. We now have Clearlake, Boli Egbali, you name it. So the project itself is different. The ownership is different, but the concept is the same. Now, let me explain why. So when Frank Lampard first came into the Chelsea job a number of years ago, I think this was in 2018, 2019, he came off the back of a very unpopular man, Maurizio Sarri, who got us to a Carabao Cup final, which we lost on penalties, and we won the Europa League, but the fans did not like the football one bit. He was very, very unpopular in that sense. And so relations broke down. He got sacked, or maybe it was a mutual agreement. He went to Juventus. Frank Lampard then came in. We had a transfer ban. We could not sign players. The only player we could bring in was Kovacic, and I think Pulisic came in as well because we bought him previously in January. Frank Lampard came in and played very attractive football, but in his second year, you could just see that he wasn't good enough for the job. I mean, let's face it. So when Tuchel came in, everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, we've finally got a proper coach on our hands." And evidently, we started winning. We had a spark about us, something special, something different than we had earlier in the season when we kept dropping points. And we ended up winning the Champions League, and Tuchel was one of the best managers I think Chelsea have ever had, and I think he really, really would have been great if we kept him. But, you know, let's not touch too much on that. Where's the correlation? We came from a crap manager, or let's say, I don't want to say a crap manager, a manager who wasn't up to the task, who wasn't given the time, the circumstances weren't right really for Graham Potter to come in, and then Frank Lampard again, to a man who actually knows how to manage at this level, who has experience at this level, improving players, improving young players, developing teams over not just 2 or 3 years, but 5, 6, 7 years if need be. You know, Pochettino can do that. And he even does that without getting backed. So imagine what it's going to be like when he gets backed here at Chelsea. And by the way, backing isn't just signing the players, it's also getting rid of the players he doesn't want. Let's not forget, obviously, João Felix. We didn't end up coming in for him. A lot of people are saying that was Pochettino's decision not to bring Felix in, and I completely agree. I don't think Felix would suit Poch's style of play whatsoever. I don't think he ran enough, even though he had that flair. So what Poch is going to do is build a team, and I say this with concrete confidence. I said it before on the Sky interview, and I'm going to say it again. We will make top 4, and we will push hard at the top of the table. The only teams really who I think that we might struggle against is Man City, maybe Liverpool as well. I think Newcastle and Arsenal are going to struggle, and the reason is because they haven't played. Newcastle haven't played Champions League football in about 20 years, and Arsenal, it's been 7, 8, 9 years, something like that. So it's been a long time for both of those teams. So they need to adjust. They need the depth. They need the experience. We don't have any of these problems, guys. So I understand the criticism, or not even criticism. I understand when fans feel a little bit edgy, a little bit paranoid going into this season, especially since we were so confident last season, having spent about almost £500 million only to finish 12th. This is different, guys. We know which players want to be here. We know which players don't want to be here, right? And even the players that are still here that don't want to be here aren't going to affect the project that we have. We already see that Lukaku, if he does come back, and he's not sold, in time for our pre-season tour, then he's going to be training separately to the first team anyway. He's not going to be training with the first team because he's not part of Poch's plans, and he doesn't want to stay at Chelsea. So what we need to understand, number one, we now have a team who actually wants to play for Chelsea. This is something we didn't have last season. This is something we just didn't have. And look, the names go on, obviously. We've still got Ziyech as well, but he will leave, guys. He will eventually leave. He's not going to stay. And if he does stay, he's not going to play. So, there comes a point in a player's career where you say to yourself, maybe I do need to take a little bit of a pay cut just to get some game time. I mean, if they really care about their career, that's what they will do. Just turns out to be with some players like, Mendy and Koulibaly, just to name a few. Pulisic as well, actually. He's just gone to Milan. These guys will get game time. And for Mendy and Koulibaly, they're getting a good pay rise as well. But not everyone's that lucky. You get what you're given, right? You get opportunities. You either take them or you don't. I think Bowley has done an exceptional job, guys, in this transfer window. I think it's just so harsh the way some fans are treating him. And I was one of those fans at times during last season, especially after the fan cams. I remember when we lost to Real Madrid away from home. We lost 2-0 at the Bernabeu. And I was thinking, what is going on? This club's a mess. It's a disaster. And it was. Let's not make any mistake about it. But sometimes, in order to take 2 steps forward, you've got to take 1 step back. And that's what we did. We took a huge step back. But evidently, there's only so much further back you can go. And when you're a club as big as us, you're only going to go forward because the investment is there. The commitment is still there. We're reinforcing the squad. And, we have a club mentality now that is relatively united. Obviously, there are still some players who don't want to be here with Lukaku and Ziyech. There might be 1 or 2 others. I think there's talks about Callum Hudson-Odoi as well. But that is a small part of something much, much bigger. So let's not dwell on these negatives. Let's look at the positives. The amount of business we have done in terms of getting players off the wage books, just securing transfer fees, really. I mean, people criticise the board for selling Kovacic for 25 million. I think there's 5 million of add-ons as well. He wanted to leave. And he would have left on a free anyway at the end of the season. And on top of that, he wasn't even playing well. So we didn't exactly have a man in form. So, it's good business. We're getting rid of these guys. Of course, you can say, well, we're getting rid of these players and we're giving them to rivals. Why are we giving Mount to United? Why are we giving Havertz to Arsenal? Well, the reality is these are the only people that are willing to pay the money, and they're some of the only people that have the money. And these players They didn't get offers from anywhere else, right? Havertz was just amazing business. I don't think anyone can criticise that. And if he does do well at Arsenal, we just have to hold our hands up and say fair play, well played. You know, they're utilising him the way we never could. Havertz was a silly signing for Chelsea. As for Mount, my feelings on him, you know, now he has gone to United, I'm not a fan of Mount anymore. I mean, how can you be when a player leaves? And the reality is, a lot of it is over money. That's the way I see it. It's got to be over money because we are paying players well. Sterling's on over 300 grand. Reece James got that £250,000 a week contract. So, you know, even if you were offered 200 grand, it's not bad money, especially if you were on less than 100 grand before. You know, you're getting over double your wages anyway. It's a massive pay rise. And if you're not willing to fight for your place and try and earn the right to have a good contract, then as far as I'm concerned, you can leave. So I think that the business, even getting rid of Mount, it wasn't necessarily smart. I just think it was the right thing to do. It was logical, right? I don't think we're particularly happy about it, but we can be pleased that we didn't lose him on a free transfer. And obviously, considering he's a youth player, that goes straight into profit as well for the club. What else? Yeah, obviously, just to finish off with the pre-season so far, from what we're seeing with all the players, they're being worked very hard. Poch is doing a fantastic job of working these boys, and they needed to be worked after having a terrible season last season. And we will criticise the management for that, because you did not work the players hard enough. You did not ask them to raise to Chelsea standard. There were a few players, Reece James, Thiago Silva, maybe Enzo Fernandez, maybe one or two others that I just haven't thought of off the top of my head. You know, these are players that know what it's like to play for Chelsea, and they raise the standard regardless. But other players need to be coached, and they need to be taught that, listen, this isn't a small club fighting for a mid-table position. We're not trying to survive relegation. We're not trying to, you know, just get top four. Yeah, maybe we are this season, but we're a title-winning team. We're a winning team. We need to stay that way, and we're only going to stay that way if you push yourself to the limit. So I think it's great that Poch is putting players and pushing them as much as he can. The reality is we need to be a hard team to play against. We have no European fixtures, no congestion. This isn't a debate. This is not a debate. This is a reality that needs to be realistic. If fans are really going to be surprised of us making top four, I don't know why. You know, we have good players. Yes, we can have better players. And we need a few reinforcements, but we will do it. I'm very confident. Even if we don't get a new striker, we can still make top four, right? The reality is we just needed a system that was going to suit the players so that they can create the chances in the first place, because we were so poor at creating. I mean, under Tuchel, when we had Lukaku, we created a lot and we missed a lot. Under Potter and Lampard, we barely created anything, and subsequently we barely finished at all. Look, the defence is good. We're going to keep clean sheets. I'll just keep saying it. We have to raise the standard for the team next season. I'm not saying booing players if we lose matches, but I'm saying expect wins week in, week out. You have to. I expect to win against Liverpool on the opening day. I do. I really do. They struggle at Stamford Bridge. We usually play very well there. And it's a great game. What a way to get up for the first game of the season. So I'm super confident, guys. You know, I've got a little bit of a tangent there. But there's so much going on at Chelsea. And I have to say, most of it is positive. And I think if people disagree with me, I would love to know why. So let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Like, subscribe. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the new season. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thanks very much.